One thing we all have in common is that we're all going to die someday. We all have a body that's subject to aging and disrepair, and eventually that all leaves. But in another very real sense, there is no death. There is no death apart from the death of the physical body. Consciousness continues on. However, it's a little bit misleading to regard it as a continuation, because it's not exactly a continuation. Consciousness exists in a timeless dimension, and its relative perceptions give the appearance of time fullness. When the appearance of linearity runs out, then there is a reestablishment of the timeless dimension, which is always there, but through our relative perceptions, there is the appearance that it's not there. It's difficult to grasp on a purely intellectual level. But even through pure reasoning, we can determine that time, as we know it, is basically an illusion. We live in time on a linear plane, but we do know that that is, in a sense, it's not an irrational way to perceive time, but it's the only way that we can perceive time. But we know that linear time is somewhat of an illusion, because when we have a linear plane, in terms of time, if we look in the past and we look into the future, on a linear plane, we can just arbitrarily keep pushing the beginning and the end out farther and farther and farther, as far as our imagination allows. And it's not the linear plane that has any reality, but the imagination, which is in our consciousness, that is what has the reality. So time has no real place. And death, fundamentally, it does not exist. Consciousness is the timeless dimension, and it will survive physical death. It's difficult to say what will happen at the point of physical death, but we can be sure that consciousness, in whatever its potential manifestations, will survive. Another way to look at it is that the dimension of your death already exists now. All of these points in your life are existing simultaneously, but it's because of our relative perception that gives us that we're in a fixed place in a point in time, on a linear timeline. What we consider to be our past and our future, these are perceptions that are simply more closely related to our current position in space-time. This is at least how it appears to be to me. When we perceive the infinity in our mind's eye, we're really just seeing ourselves. Everything that arrives in consciousness also falls away, but not consciousness itself. It's not clear to me how much is retained when the body dies. I suspect it's variable for everyone. You will lose your physical body. Will you retain your memory? Will you retain the appearance of a physical body? I'm not really sure. in some near-death experiences, people say that they retain their physical body. The appearance is still there, although it's clear they're not in a physical body because their new body has, although it looks similar as their physical body, it has multi-dimensional attributes. And they can move from place to place very quickly. They aren't obstructed by physical objects and things like that. Is this a permanent new state? I'm not sure. And I'm not sure if that will happen to everyone. I'm not sure what happens to consciousness after the death of the physical body. But I am pretty certain that it survives nonetheless.